Hi there everybody, it's Jan here, and this is our monthly project that I'm trying to do each month, and this is for March. So this was originally inspired by these. I don't know if you can see these okay. Let me just double check. Yeah, and I made these a long time ago, many years ago, for a little Easter project that I was trying to do. And I had these ones over, and I just thought that they would make a lovely little Easter, Mother's Day kind of gift thing. And over here in UK, Mother's Day is the 14th of March this year. So hopefully we'll still be in time to, make something. And all I did with these were made from a card. They're a bit rough inside, but that's fine. No one's looking inside. And for these ones, I just crocheted a very long chain from quite a thin wool that I had. And basically I just wound it round and round and round, sticking as I was going. So it made these little hats, which I then decorated with lace and bits and pieces, handmade flowers and things. And I just think they look really pretty. In fact, I'm going to resurrect them this year to make to add to my wreath that I always put on my street door. I have a different one each month with a different theme, and this theme being obviously Mother's Day. I'm going to decorate these up and put them on this little wreath. But as I say, they also inspired me to make these. Let me just clear these away for a moment. And this is this month's project. And these I'm calling a watch box. So this is the first one. And as you can see, it's a cylindrical box. I don't know if you can tell. Let me just kind of try and hold it up at different angles. I don't know if you can see. You should be able to. But it's a cylindrical box with a drawer. And the reason I'm calling it a watch box is because inside, oh, I have no nails at the moment, is where I store my watch on my dressing table. And I think, you could put chocolates in here, you could put anything in here really, but I'm calling it a watch box because that's what I do with that. And it's also an easel card, so you can stand the little hat up as well, and it just makes a really nice decorative piece to go on a dressing table or something like that. Okay, so that's that one, and this is another one that I've been working on. I'm going to do this again today, but I'm going to do it in a different colourway. So this one looks like this. They're very pretty, very pretty, and basically they're very simple to make. The fiddliest bit is getting the this bit made, the drawer made. So this is what this one looks like inside. And yeah, okay, so like I say, this is the project for this month. This is March. And when I was thinking about inspiration for these, I looked absolutely everywhere. I looked on, everywhere I could think of for inspiration, for ideas, for how people have managed to make them. And I didn't find a single one. So it's just possible that this cylindrical box, hold on, let's stand this one up as well so you can see that. So this little cylindrical box, no matter what you put on top of it, I think the box with a drawer is actually unique. It's a first. So yeah, I think I might actually claim it as a first. So you won't find this anywhere else, I don't think, or at least I certainly couldn't find anything like it anywhere else. You can find cylindrical boxes with lids that come off, but not with a drawer that pulls out. So anyway, let's just crack on and let's make a start at making ours. So from now on, I'm going to post the cut list when I do the project, because I'd like more people to see if they can get involved with doing these projects and things. So this is the cut list. Let me just double check that you can see that it's actually in shot. Yes, it is. There we go. I'm calling it Mother's Day watch box. You're going to need 2 or 3 different types of paper. So you're going to need 300-gram cardstock, which is the very thick and heavy stuff. And you're going to cut out some circles and some bands from that. You're going to need a 210-gram cardstock, which is, you know, sort of a medium weight. You're going to need at least 1 DSP, and I've used 2 because I used one for a contrast. And I also used about 39 inches or 1 metre of 1/2 inch lace, which is 1.2 centimetres. I used about 15 inches or 38 centimetres of beaded trim, and then various ribbons, flowers, feathers, dimensional butterfly. You could put anything on there for your, you know, for this to prop up on. But I used a butterfly because I just think they're pretty, and I always try to use butterflies. I love them. Right, okay, so hopefully you have got that. Hopefully you've been able to still shot this, and we can then crack on. So the cardstock that I'm going to be using today is a very pretty 2 toning colours. These are the bits that I've got left over from 2 12-inch sheets of DSP, and it's a lovely blue and a beautiful green that really goes well with it. Okay, so that's what I'm going to be using today. Now, I've done a lot of preparation beforehand, just to try and keep the time down for you. The first thing I would recommend that you do is, out of copy paper, just printer copy paper, is to cut a 4-inch circle, or the size of circle that you're going to use, template, and fold it in half this way and score it well, and fold it in half again the other way and score it well, because you're going to need to know where half pieces are, you know, the half, exactly halfway across the circle, and you might need to know where the centre of the circle is as well. Right, okay, so having got that, you're going to cut out your pieces, and I'm just collecting up all the pieces that we're going to need, and that's these pieces. So when you come to cut out this circle here from the DSP, from the cardstock, you need 2 separate pieces. You need a complete circle, and you need another circle for the crown. But when you cut it out of the DSP, what I did was I actually used, let's see if I can find it here. I wonder if it shows up on here. Hold on a second. There we go. So out of this fancy box, fancy circle that I've asked you to cut, I then, because I only want the outside edge really to show, I managed also to get the hat brim and the hat crown by carefully lining it up. I managed to get all of those out of the one piece, and that saves on some of the paper. Okay, so let's put that aside for the moment. But like I say, you can't do that with the actual base card, because you need the full circle and you need a crown as well. Right, okay, so let's put those aside for the moment, because that's the hat that we're going to be working on. Now, some of the pieces that I've been able to stick down in advance, I'll show you, because you can do the same thing as well. Now, let's start with the hat brim, since we were talking about the hat. Along the small piece of cardstock that I've asked you to cut, which is the 1¼ inches by 7 inches, which is 3.1 by 17.7, you need to score along 1/4 inch along both sides, both long sides, and fold one under and really burnish it well, and fold the other over and really burnish that well as well. And then you need to take a small pair of scissors and make fine snips all the way along. As you can see, I've basically fringed it Okay, so these ones are folding downwards and they're fringed, and these ones are folding upwards and they're fringed. Now on to that, you can at this point, and it saves a lot of hassle later, stick the piece of DSP that you're going to use along here. So you'll see that I've made my DSP just very slightly longer, just by about a 1/16 of an inch longer. And the reason for that is because when we bend these strips, which we're going to do, sometimes the cardstock has to go further round than, the DSP has to go further round than the cardstock does, if you get my meaning. Right, okay, so, and you'll also see that on one edge, the wrong edge as it happens on mine, I've fringed just the little overlap of the DSP as well. So you can do that, but that's on the edge. If you're using directional paper like I am and I forgot about, don't forget to do that at the bottom edge. If you have anything hanging over, just fringe it like that. It'll be fine for mine. I'm not bothered about it. It'll be fine even though it's the wrong way up. Right, so that's the first piece. You can stick that piece of DSP down and put that aside with the hat, because that's the hat band. Now on the main box, which I'm doing in this blue colour, you're going to need a box top and a piece of DSP, but don't stick those together at the moment. You're also going to need a box side and a piece of DSP to fit along that. And again, I've cut this just slightly longer at either end. Let's just turn this over. Just very marginally longer at either end, just in case. So it gives me, see, as you bend it, this bit disappears. So it might do that for you. But anyway, we'll try. So this one here, this one here was scored at 1/4 of an inch. All of these other pieces now are going to be scored at 3/8 of an inch. And again, I've very finely fringed it all the way along. The finer you do your fringing, the better circle you will get. If you just fringe it sort of by cutting it every little while, you'll get a circle that's got little straight lines. But I wanted mine to be a proper circle. So that's that piece. And that is your 2 3/4 by 6 3/4 strip, and that is 6.9 by 17.1 centimetres. So I haven't stuck the DSP down to it for some reason. I'll remember while I'm doing the video, I expect. But I have put my tape on ready. Okay, you can use tape, you can use wet glue. You will need wet glue to assemble the box, but tape is fine for doing these bits. So that's the first part. This is the outside of the box, and you're going to need one of the ordinary card circles for the base, another one for the lid, and a piece of the DSP to cover the lid. Okay, so that's that. That's the main box. Put that aside for a moment. For the drawer, you're going to need a couple more pieces, a couple of different pieces. So your first piece is the lighter weight card, and you're going to need this piece, which is sorry, I'm just referring to my crib sheet at the moment, which I'll put back here for you for the moment. This is the one that's 12 or 14 inches. Let me have a look. It is 12 and there we are. 2 1/4 deep by 12 3/4 long, which is 5.7 centimetres by 32.3. You're going to score this on one side only at 3/8 of an inch and do that fine fringing. Okay, now we also have the outside cover for the box, and this is the one that I'm going to use this lovely green for, so it contrasts with the blue. And I've also cut a piece of the blue that will make up the lining of the box, so it will look like that. Right, okay. So on this outside part of the drawer, you need to mark a point which is centre between here and here. Oh, I forgot to mention that even a 12-inch pad, you won't have enough, so you have to join a piece. So what you need is about 3/4 of an inch additionally, but don't forget you're going to need 1/4 of an inch to overlap here so that you can stick the two pieces together. So probably about an inch. We may need to trim that later as we go, and everybody's box will be slightly different. So, you know, within a few, within 1/8 of an inch or a few mil or so. So anyway, I've ended up with a piece which is 12 3/4, which is 32.3 centimetres. And midway, top and bottom and side to side, I've put a little X with to remind me that we need to put a brad here. And I've used a decorative, quite a large decorative brad here. I think you could probably glue a pearl or something like that there as well, but I wanted it to be really quite secure, so I've used a decorative brad, quite a large decorative brad. Right, okay, so that's going to go on there, and that needs to go on here before we attach the lining to the box. So I'm going to stick this onto here. As you can see, I've already got my score tape on it, my double-sided tape. I'm going to line it up perfectly with the top, and I'm going to stick that down in a moment. Then we have the lining, as I say, which this needs to go on first so that this goes on the back and hides those little prongs. You're also going to need for this one base, but this is the one that we hand cut down. So I've where I have cut 4-inch circles here, this one here came from a 4-inch circle, but hold on, let's see if I can line it up. But you can see how much I've cut it down, which is about just less than 1/8 of an inch all the way round. And the easiest way to do that actually is to use your die. Hold on, let's get the die that I used, which is this one, is to get the die, put it on your outer circle, and then draw around the inside edge, because there's usually just over 1/16 of an inch between the cutting line and the inside edge. And then if you draw around that onto your 4-inch circle and then cut just inside of that, that should be about the right size. So I hope I'm making that kind of clear. So this is the one that you're going to need the smaller one for, which is the drawer base. And you're going to do exactly the same with the drawer lining. So you will cut out your 4-inch circle and then draw around it, trim it down. Now I've trimmed mine down a little bit more because my drawer, I want to be sure about it, but I'm also going to add a decorative edge around the outside of mine. So those are the pieces you're going to need for your drawer. These pieces are for the actual hat easel card, which is basically, you know, so this one here also for the base. So we have already this base here for making that whole outside edge. There's also a second base which I've cut from a fancy edged slightly larger circle so that it kind of sticks out at the bottom like that and gives a nice little edge. And I've covered that. That's fine to cover that already with your DSP in whichever one you want to use. So that's that put aside. That's for the main box. And then also I've completed the easel part. So you're going to need a 4-inch circle, and this is where your template comes in handy. So using your template folded in half, you can mark it on here so you know where to score it exactly. But also I put a little mark either side of the 1/2 inch there and of the half piece there and there. And when I came to cut my 1/2 inch piece of DSP, I knew exactly where to line it up to. Okay, now before you stick the DSP down, you need to add the hinge, and the hinge is a piece that's about 3/4 by probably 2 inches. It's not really you know, kind of a scientific approach. It's quite flexible. You fold it in half and score it really well, and you sandwich that, you trap that between the DSP and the piece of folded cardstock, and this is going to be at the back. Okay, then onto that we're going to stick the other fancy circle, which has been covered with DSP cut to the same size. So we're going to just stick that on, and the part with the hinge you don't stick down, that needs to be free, but the part without the hinge, the half without the hinge, you need to stick down to this, so that basically it will stand up, it will lie down flat, and then it will stand up like that. Okay, as we start to assemble it. So we'll put that aside as well. Right, so let's make a start. I'm just going to take a last sip of my morning coffee. Sorry about that. Right, okay, so having got those pieces stuck down, let's make a start. So we're going to start with this part, the box, rather than the drawer. So let's move those pieces out of the way. This is the box side, so you will have scored this at 3/8, fringed it, burnish it really well, both to the same side, and then fringe it up to those. Right, okay, so the first thing that we can do then in that case is to stick our DSP onto the box. Okay, onto the box outside. So I'm going to just make sure that that levels up, and I'm going to find my tweezers, remove the backing paper, there and there and there. Again, you can use our little trick if you want to, of using our spirit glue to give you extra wiggle room if you're not sort of confident with sticking this down. I'm going to try and give it a go without that. So I need the box outside. I need it to line up between these two lines, and I'm just going to drop it down to make sure that it's in the right place. Move it up a bit. There we go. Stick that down and give it a good burnish. These pieces really do need to be well adhered, so give them a really good burnish. This way and this way. And don't forget to erase any pencil marks you might have put on it. I always mark my pieces so that I know where's the, you know, what they're for, and then I can group them together. Now this, we're going to do again on the pocket, but at the moment this is the shorter edge, and what we need to do is break the fibres of this cardstock and paper. So we're going to start quite gently by running our bone folder all the way along, gently but firmly actually, you know, like no point in going at it hammer and tongs, but you have to do this repeatedly to get this to go into a curve to start with. And you just keep doing it repeatedly to break down the fibres, being careful not to rip off any of these little bits as you go, although it's not, you know, massively essential if you do happen to accidentally rip off one or two of them. And then once it starts to go into a curve, it does take a bit of going at it. Once it starts to go into a bit of a curve, especially the end pieces, because it's quite tough cardstock, so it needs a bit of bullying into shape really. Right, okay. Now I've seen how much it's kind of stretched, I can, before I make any more changes, I'm going to trim off this bit here. This bit here wasn't necessarily needed, but I wanted to keep it on there just to make sure, because like I say, sometimes when you stretch your cardstock, it sort of stretches that bit as well, and you find you've got a little gap. Right, now I'm sorry about any traffic noises, but I'm going to need to open my window just a little bit. So as we start to get round here, I'm going to just wrap this into a loose cylindrical shape, just to try and persuade it that last little bit, and you should end up with a piece that looks like that. Let me just open my window slightly. There. Now, if you're using a directional paper like me, make sure you've got the right end up, and you're going to press it down all the way along those bottom little fringe so that you have that, okay, like that. There we go, like that. And you need to take the base of this box, the main base, which is not the one that was cut down, this is the other one, the one that is the full 4 inches, and I'm going to run some glue, get it going, run some glue about halfway around the outside edge of the box. So you need a good bit of glue, not sort of massive, but you need sort of a good width of glue. Okay, about halfway round. And at this point it really doesn't matter, you know, which side of the circle you use, because it's just a blank circle. Right, let's pop the lid on here. And holding this down in a kind of curved shape, if you can, I'm going to stick this, turn it over so it's glue side down, and I'm going to really butt that up tight as you possibly can, and stick that to the inside like this. Really, really get that up tight. It's so important. Okay. Push those edges right in as well, because they have a tendency to sort of pop out. So really, really get that butted up tight there. And when you think the glue is taking, use your bone folder to reinforce it all the way round. Oops, pierced a hole in mine, good grief. Let's pop that back underneath. Right, there we go. I was being enthusiastic there. So you see, things do happen. Right, now once you have that like that, you can turn it over, and you can kind of go over any of these little flaps that haven't stuck down because they're overlapping too much. They're overlapping each other too much. So just add a little bit of glue, no particular finesse to it. Just pop these bits down, smooth them out. Same with this side. Obviously you didn't put enough glue there. Like I say, it's not at all difficult, it's just a case of fiddling about with it. Make sure that side is well in. Hold it down till it takes. There's a piece where there's no glue for it to stick to. Because all of these pieces will overlap each other, some of the pieces won't get any glue on them. You just have to do them kind of like this, by hand really. And it also gives you a chance to go round and smooth out your circle, making sure that you know, it's really tight. There. There. And there. Oops, there's a little stray one there. A couple of little stray ones there. There we go. And stand that up and allow that to set up. Okay. Right, okay, so that's that piece. Let's push that in so it's a little bit more circular looking. There we go. Right, now we're going to do exactly the same thing with the top. So find the piece that's your top of your box, which is the same size. And it doesn't matter which way round you go, again, because this is, you know, there's no particular pattern to this. And you're going to do exactly the same. So we're going to put this in here. We're going to push it in tight. I don't know if you can see that. We're going to push it in really tight and stick these bits down underneath. And like I say, the easiest way to do this is to do it from the inside first and then turn it over. Right, okay, this time I'm just going to use my template because I need half a circle. I need half of this glued, and I will just put a little mark either side. This is where I make templates for everything, and this is where I find these things come in really useful. So I know that I have to put glue between this one and this one. Let's move this out of the way, and I'm going to put my glue fairly liberally all the way around this outside edge. Oh, I don't know if you can hear my little chihuahua snoring in the background. He's in the craft room. In fact, both of the dogs are in the craft room with me, and they've both got the hump at the moment because they're having to sleep on their bed on the floor as opposed to up on the shelf with me where they usually are. Right, okay, so we're going to do exactly the same thing. We're going to line up where we've put our glue here and here as best we can. Push that right inside as good as we can. Press it down. Push it right into the back, and again try to make sure that your side pieces are held well in. Give that a good bone folder burnish all the way round, turn it over and repeat. So stick all the bits down. As you can see, I've put the glue in the right place, I just didn't line it up in the right place. Oh God. You know, you won't have to make any mistakes because I'm making them all for you here. Push all these bits down. There we go. These are all fine, fine, fine. A little bit of glue under there. You do have a top and bottom that will hold this, you know, more solid, so you don't have to panic or anything. Okay, so I've got all those pieces down satisfactorily. Okay, managed to put glue all over my work surface. Perfect. Right, so put that down while it's setting up, and making sure you have the right, you know, the right edges, the right way up. You can now go back to the base and stick this onto this which you previously prepared. So making sure that you have, I think I'll do it this way round, it's probably easier. Put this on first blindly without the glue so that you can see how much of an overlap there is, and there really isn't much actually, there's just sort of a 1/4 inch. It's just to give it that little fluted edge. Then apply your glue, particularly all over these pieces. Plenty of it. Plenty, plenty, plenty. All the way round to the edge. Around here. You can see I've got the real shakes of my hands this morning. Sorry about that. Just one of those things. Right, okay, and just carefully lining it up, you can stick that onto the base. You may have to sort of wiggle around with it until you get it where you want it to be, so don't press it down firmly until you've got it lined up, and then press it down. And again, burnish from the inside. And we don't need to cover this with DSP on the inside because it will never be seen. It's covered by the drawer. Okay, and now you can apply the box top. So let me just rub out my marks. And just making sure that you kind of try to line it up as best you can with your base, like that. And you're going to stick this down. Okay, try to line it up so that these look, you know, straight from the front. Right, so that goes, this is about the front and that's about halfway. Okay, so again I'm just going to liberally apply some glue. As you can see, this would probably be almost impossible to do with tape. And actually, I don't think you'd get such a good bond with tape as you do with the glue. Right, so I'm trying to, may not be successful, but I'm trying to keep the line of these hearts sort of down the centre of mine. It's obviously a lot easier if you don't use a directional paper. There we go, stick that down. Once it starts to take, you can turn it over and burnish it from the inside. And there we go. I'll set that over there just to set up a bit. There we go. And I'll just turn my attention back to this. This is the lid cover that's actually got the mechanism on it for the easel, which is basically an easel card. This is the base of it. This is the top of it. So put your piece of your hinge. I've ended up putting mine here, but really it should be between the paper and the card, but I didn't think about that until after I'd already assembled it, but either way is fine. So you have your large circle, your large plain circle, then, and you fold it in half this way, then you apply your half circle of DSP, your hinge, and the piece that doesn't have the hinge on it, I know I've already said this, but I'll repeat it again. The piece that doesn't have the hinge on it is the bit that you stick to the top of your circle. So the other part of the circle is free. Okay? Now, with this, you need to catch this before it sticks fully. This is the bit I forgot all about. So let's see if I can just lift this before it sticks. Yeah, I'm just going to be lucky, I think. Yeah, I'm just going to be lucky. Stupid me, but here you go. I'm making the mistake so that you don't need to. Ideally, we'd like to hide this. So this is the bit that piece that we stick inside halfway. and the back part of that hinge, just a tiny bit, kind of needs to stick out. Now I can only get that much paper up off of mine, so I'm going to trim my hinge down a little bit. You'll find there's a bit of trimming to do on this project. Now I'm going to try and line that up with the front. See where the back part goes. A lot of this you can do by eye, you don't need to kind of measure it or anything. Make sure that your circle, you can't see that you can't see your inside circle, so it overlaps by about the same amount as the base one did. And this is the back, I'm hoping, and I'm just going to pop that hinge in there because it should have been stuck down first. Push it right in and then stick my paper down with the hinge in it. So I hope you can see this. It's just a stupid mistake I made there. Let's just glue this hinge. Don't forget, you don't want to cover up the score line on the hinge. You need that to be just showing at the back. Otherwise you won't be able to open it. Press that down. Here we are. Just going to bring mine forward a little bit. There we go. Put the lid on that glue for a moment. Now it looks a bit wonky at the moment, but that's because it hasn't got the drawer in it for stability. So don't worry about that. So when this opens, it's going to open like any other easel card, like that. So we're going to need a stopper on the front here, but I'm not going to put that on just yet. I'll put that on in a bit. Okay, so that's your main box. Let's put that out of the way to set up while we do the drawer. Now the drawer obviously is going to be open at the top, so you don't need to have fringing both sides, you just need it on one side. And we're using the circle that we cut down, and the principle is absolutely exactly the same. So first of all, I'm going to stick the outside cover of the drawer down, and I'm going to have as little overlap as I can, but I've still got some overlap there. Nothing you can do about that. Right, okay, so let's remove the tape backing. Honestly, it's funny actually. This has taken me longer than pretty much anything else because of getting the sizes to match up exactly without getting into the realm of 1/16 of an inch and things like that. Yeah, so I must have made 20 of these boxes, well, maybe not 20, but at least 10, and ended up binning them. Right, okay, so you want your directional pattern to go downwards. The fringe is the bottom of the drawer. Get this lined up. Don't press it down, just balance it there until you're really happy with it. The main thing is that it is level with the top. The top is the most important part. So that you don't have any that goes over. So take a few minutes just to make sure it's lined up. There we go, like that. Make sure that you give it a good bone folder down, a good burnish, I mean. It needs to stick very firmly. Right. And then we're going to go through that process again of stretching it. So really kind of bully it into You might find it easier to go with the fringe at the top so that you don't end up ripping it, because it's a longer piece. You have to kind of really bully it into a circle. Okay, we're getting there. We are getting there. It's very, once you have the DSPs attached to this, you'll find it's very sturdy box, actually. There we go, we're getting there. Let's just do this bit, and then we can start to roll it up. So I'm just going to roll it up like this, and just manipulate it a bit, make sure that it's doing as I want it to do. There we go, there we go, brilliant. Now I've made this to have a 1/2 inch overlap here, so but we're not going to stick that yet, because as I say, everybody's box, every time I've made this box, which is why I've found it difficult, I've had a different measurement here, but this is what we're going to go with. So let's go with about 1/2 inch and put a paper clip or a piece of removable tape or peg or something on there to hold it together. Make sure that it's straight. That's the most important thing. Make sure that this is straight so that you don't have a box where the sides are going in or coming out. That was another big kind of issue I had. Right, and we're going to push this down so that all of these fringe pieces are inside like this. And I'm going to bend all these pieces in. Carefully, like this. Actually, I might put a piece of, oh no, I don't think it needs it. I think it's holding it sturdily enough with the, with the paper clip. But I was just thinking about whether or not to put a piece of tape on there as well, but I don't think it's necessary. I don't know. Let's have a go. You only need a tiny piece of double-sided tape, and the repositional tape I use is medical, cheap micropore tape. I find it so useful. If you stamp on it as well, if you stick this down to a piece of wax paper and you stamp on it or colour it or whatever you want to do, you make your own washi tape. Anyway, that's just an aside. Right, so I've got that fairly firmly anchored, and I am going to stick this hand cut base, this one, to the outside this time. The reason being is that if you have all this fringing on this side, we're not going to cover it because that will affect the depth of the drawer. If you have all the fringing on the outside, it keeps catching when you pull the drawer in and out, so we need it to be here like this. And this needs to be the neatest circle you can get, okay? So I am going to erase my pencil marks because I don't want all that on it. Although it's going to be covered with paper anyway, so it's not super essential. Let's clear some of this off. And I am going to, you'll find that the easiest way to do it is to put the glue onto the actual base as opposed to onto these pieces. Because you won't need to worry too much about it not being stuck down inside because it's going to be covered with the circle base. Right, okay, so we're going to go all the way around the outside, and as you can see, I'm really being quite liberal with this. It's one of those cases where I actually do want it to squeeze out the sides so that it'll catch all of the little fringing pieces. Okay, right, Now another thing you can do, oh no, I won't confuse you with that. Right, so let's get this carefully stuck to the outside of this little drawer. Me with my shaky hands. Right, and line it up. And the reason you can see that I have put a paper clip on there is because I need to adjust it a little bit. So mine needs to be just a little bit smaller than it needs to have you know, a half an inch plus a tiny bit. So it's probably not a good idea to put the micro pour tape on, but we'll soon find out. Right, let's try it to there. It just depends where your hand cutting goes to. The other thing you can do, don't panic, is we can trim it afterwards if we need to. So let's focus on getting it stuck down as best we can all the way round till we get to this where the paper clip is. Go the other way. I hope you can see what I'm doing here. Go tightly all the way around the other way, and there to there I need to, oh no, that's exactly right. Oh, that was a bit of luck. But you can, because we haven't got this stuck down finally, you can release the paper clip and just make it slightly bigger or slightly smaller as you need to. Okay. Oops. Stay straight. No cheating. Put my bit of tape back again. And the other thing with micro pour tape is you can just use it and use it and use it. It just doesn't seem to lose its stick for ages. You end up tearing it before it loses its stick. So I always use it, and it's just so cheap. Just get it from the chemist, pharmacy, whatever you call it. Right, now just here you'll see that I have a tiny fraction of an overlap of this, and you can do one of two things. You can just leave it, which is what I'm going to do because it hardly matters, it's at the back of the drawer, or you can simply take the scissors and trim it. Right, let's get that to set up for a few moments while we apply some lace to the outside of our pretty wonky looking box here. So I've said that you're going to need about 1 metre or so of a nice lace trim. Obviously your decoration is entirely up to yourself where you want to put it. So I am going to apply the smallest piece, just trim it up, trim up the edges, etc. Here and here and here. There and there. Find which is the right side. That's the right side. And I'm going to apply my lace to the top here like this. Just measure it around, make sure it's the right piece. Yeah, it is. Okay, because this will take some handling now it's dry. And I use this Cosmic Shimmer glue because I just find it so brilliant. It sticks anything to anything. And it's not much affected by the weather. It is a little bit, but not much. It's runnier in the summer than it is in the winter, but it still works. So I'm just going to carefully, and it seems, you know, if you're using a material or a lace or something to paper, it seems to bond instantly. It's brilliant. Just going to carefully go round with this, and that will hide any sort of rough edges that you might have on show. Oops, there was glue on there, I peeled it off. Go all the way around. So there you can see the back of my hinge is on show, which is what I want. Don't cover that, but you won't see it because it's, you know, it's well hidden by lace, etc. Stick this round to here. All the way around. All the way around to there. And when it dries off, I'll just trim off that little excess piece there. Now, there's a temptation, which I'm sure you'll find, to stick a nice trim all the way around here to cover this. But if you do, you won't be able to open your drawer. Ask me how I know. That was attempt number 5 that went in the bin. Oh dear. Right. Okay, let's just stick that to there. And while we're waiting for these two to set up, we can work on the hat, preparing the hat. The hat itself is extremely simple, extremely so. Because you've already done the, you know, done this fringing business. So I have actually seen people where they make the hat and they just put layers. They stick one layer, then stick another layer, another layer, and another layer. But I like mine to have an actual brim so that I can put flowers and things on it. Right, okay, so the first job you need to do is very carefully make little snips into the brim from the inside of the circle. Tiny, tiny little snips, no bigger than probably not even 1/8 of an inch. Sorry, I forgot to do this as I was doing the prep. But by then, as I say, I've done so many mock-ups that my brain's addled and I can't remember if I did it or didn't do it. Oh dear. At least you have a laugh if you follow my videos. Keep going all the way round. Snip, snip, snip. Tedious job. Sorry about this. Wish I could speed it up for you, but I can't. Don't bend these anyway, you know, don't bend them up or down or anything, just keep them as little snips. Nearly there. Well, that's added about 5 minutes to the video, isn't it? Which I didn't mean to. Right, set that aside for the moment, and we need to do this exactly in the same way that we did the other. So we're going to fold these pieces in. That's the top of the hat. Okay. We're going to stretch out the fibres. Oh. Bully it into doing what you want it to do. So basically you're really pulling and stretching it and curving it at the same time, really, really firmly. Obviously not so firmly you tear the paper, but pretty firmly. There we go. There we go. It's going. And again, bend it round, and I'm trying to overlap this by about 1/4 inch, maybe a little bit more, but with the same trick as we did before, just add a paper clip to hold it. And I'm going for 1/4 inch at the moment, but put your paper clip, make sure your sides are straight, and put your paper clip at the bottom edge this time, not the top. Okay, maybe slightly slanted, however it holds. Oh, I wonder if I've got a little, I don't know what they call these. These are just miniature bulldog clips. That will definitely hold it. Right, so you fold these ones in, and again we're going to stick this crown to the top of the hat. Okay, so you want your crown piece, put it on loosely and see if it's likely to fit, pushing all the bits in. No, I think I need mine to overlap a bit more than 1/4 inch, so maybe 3/8. You know, you can get a good idea by kind of measuring it up before you even apply it. Add the crown. See how that goes. I think that might still be too big. Let's have a look. Yep, it's still slightly too big, so mine's going to overlap by about 1/2 inch by the look of it. There, let's try that. So it's all a case of just adjustment and just trying it, and right, let's try that. Yeah, that does look better. It definitely does look better. Yep. Right, okay. So, again, let's push all these in. Don't be afraid of them, just shove them in. I'm going to rub this out, apply glue around the outside as much as you like, because this is going on the inside of the hat. A liberal amount of glue. Keep going. There we are. Find my tweezers. Let's move some of this stuff out of the way so you can see. Oops, glue all over the place. Okay, and we're going to stick this on. Trying to get as good a edge as we possibly can. And we will go round it again, trying to get the edge to line up, and when we get to the bit with the clip on it, we can adjust that one way or another. So kind of pinch it together. Hopefully you won't mind getting a bit gluey. There we go. Stick down, run around, and this bit here. Keep going. Keep going. And mine needs to be let out just fractionally. If you see that, it's just not quite big enough, my circle I made. So I'm going to let this out fractionally and then pinch this together, keeping this upright. Hold it there for a few moments. Maybe put my clip back on. Okay, so while that's drying, let's turn our attention back to the drawer, which is perfect. So we can take this off, take our tape off. She says, and it won't come off. There we go. As with all, you know, repositional tape, just roll it back on itself. There we go. And that is still sticky enough, believe it or not, to stick something else down. Right, okay, while we have it like that, we're just going to run some glue along this inside piece here from top to bottom and stick those two pieces together along that halfway line, you know, that 1/2 inch edge. Let's just pop my paper clip back on for a moment. Now, what we need to do now is to attach our brad, which I have not got out. Hold on a second while I find my brad. There we go. Let's get rid of some of this rubbish and keep it nice and clean and tidy. So I'm going to be using one of these, which were gifted to me by my good friend Belle Newby, who also makes beautiful objects. She made a fantastic castle once, absolutely brilliant. Yeah, so she knows exactly what to send me for Christmas, and I know exactly what to send her, craft supplies. So yes, you want one of these type of brads, or anything that you can stick a pearl to, or you know, something like that. And before we attach the lining, we need to attach this brad. So I take my eraser, put it inside right where I've marked it that we need the brad to be applied. Find my pokey tool, she says. There we go. Find my pokey tool and make a hole by making it go into the eraser, and not your fingers. And when it's gone through, obviously we can wiggle it about a bit. Right, rub out any writing that we don't want. There we go. If you want to, you can cut a little circle just to reinforce the brad, but I've found that it's okay without it if you don't want to, so I'm not going to bother. But you can cut a little circle and put it behind as if it were a washer. So you just put the brad through, push it in as tightly as it will go. Like that. Open the prongs up sideways and give that a good press down either side. And now when you apply your lining, it will cover those prongs and nobody will get hurt. Right, let's pop that out of the way. And we need our lining, which I've put score tape on, and obviously we're going to need to roll it the other way, but we're going to do exactly the same job as we just did with the hat. So on the right side, start to curl this up. Again, I had to join a small piece here because you need 12 3/4 inches. Curl this up. go. There's another bit of pencil there to erase. Goodness me, it makes such a mess, doesn't it? Right, okay, so we're going to overlap this again by, I don't know, let's say 1/2 inch. Again, it's just kind of hit and miss. Use a paper clip again to hold it. And I'm going to make sure that's nice and straight. I'm going to peel off my tape all the way round to here, but not so that it sticks down, which will be quite a miraculous feat. Last time I did it with glue, so... Oh, I'll tell you what, let's try popping it inside. That way we can really get a view for it. There we go. That is actually a perfect fit. Hold on, let's just pull this out. So as you're going around it, kind of pull the lining to fit the outside of the drawer. There we go, that's perfect. So I can take that out and actually stick that down because I know that's going to fit. There we go, and that is just over 1/2 inch, maybe 5/8 of an inch. Yeah, maybe 5/8 of an inch. So I'm going to remove the tape from there, from the inside, very carefully. And these two pieces down a little bit. A bit to there, and a little bit to there. I'm going to put it back together again where that paper clip is. So take that off for a moment. Put that in there, about 5/8 of an inch, but without pressing it down. Line it up. Pop that back in there to make sure. Just a tiny bit more. There. Pop that back in. Come on now you want to be difficult. The other way to get this in actually is to squash it up and let it open up when it's inside. And that's what I'll do when it's actually glued. Squash it up a bit, pop it inside and let it open up. It's getting stuck on the prongs of that thing there, so let's see if that's going to go in. Just a little bit more, I think, for mine. So maybe mine's going to be 3/4 of an inch. Oops. Doesn't matter about that because it's going to get covered. So actually probably my tip would be don't use score tape up to the edge. Finish your score tape about 3/4 of an inch back so that you can, you know, fiddle about with it and just use wet glue for that last little bit. Right, let's see if it's going to go in now. In you go. You went in a minute ago, so don't mess about. It keeps getting caught on the on these bits. There we go, that's better. Yeah, so okay, my piece is overlapping by 3/4 of an inch. Okay, and bearing that in mind, I'm actually going to cut a lot of that excess off, I think. Oh no, I won't, I've already stuck it down. Right, okay, so let's peel off the rest of the score tape backing. Given how much difficulty I had getting it in there, I'm definitely going to apply wet glue. I'm going to apply plenty of this wet glue, particularly around the bottom. You can use your white glue as well. That will work just as well. I just happen to have this around, so I've kind of always used it. I find it really useful. It's coral glue, coral spirit glue. And if you don't want to be floating around the craft room, you need to have your windows open, or a window open, or a fan on. There we go. I'm going to apply this liberally. So I'm hoping, but you know how videos go, anything that can go wrong, and it does, but I'm hoping that this is going to give me plenty of wiggle room. Right, let's try this. So again, make sure your pattern is up the right way. Like I said, sometimes I find it easier simply to fold it a bit and pop it in and then let it open out. It seems to go in a bit better like that, and it doesn't affect the paper. So let's pop this in, press it back. There we go, there we go, there we go. Push it down there. Success. Keep that all together, and I would definitely just put some pegs or something on it just for a few moments to let it set up, to hold it there, particularly in the front here where you want it to be really, really perfect. Give it a really good press, pop some pegs on it to hold it. There we go. If you have any kind of bits where it doesn't exactly fit, you may be a millimetre or two out, make sure they're at the back, because you won't see it. Pop that aside for a moment and we go back to the hat. Right, so far we have this. Now I have a little rim around here which I'm going to trim, just to neaten it up. Just a tiny bit, that's all. It's so tiny, it's almost not worth bothering about, but I'm going to be a bit finicky and bother about it. As I say, most of this is going to be covered with your bits and pieces, your decorative bits and pieces, so get rid of these bits and that. And then I'm going to do the same with this that we've just done with the pocket, the drawer, and I'm just going to stick this piece down here, this overlap piece, making sure it's nice and straight. Right, now I'm going to push all of these pieces outwards, all of this fringe. And first of all, I'm going to, no, I've already marked it. Right, okay, so what I did was, when I cut out the hat, I also drew round the inner circle. Let's find it, hold on. I drew round the inner circle, so I know, and I measured it, and it's 1/2 inch in on mine, 1/2 inch in from the brim. And I drew round it so I know where to stick the actual brim of the hat. So I'm going to run some glue around the outside of that circle. There we go. And basically I'm just going to plonk this down on that line, and I'm going to press it down all the way around. And then I'm just going to make sure that it looks central to me. That needs to come over there a little bit more that way, a little bit more that way. Right, okay. Then I'm just going to make sure that my hat band fits it. It needs to be a good tight fit. Over you go. There we go. Like that. You may need to position it, sort of turn it round a bit until you find exactly where it fits the best. That's where I cut it. There we go. So that's the best fit there. And then just basically stick it down, which I'm going to do a little bit at a time. So I'm just going to stick this bit here. Lift this a little bit. Stick that down. Go. Fine, it doesn't matter if you have any little gaps around the edges like I do there, because that's going to be covered with your trim. I mean, don't go mad with it, but don't sweat it, definitely. Yeah, I'm just going to tidy that piece up a little bit. With these projects, there's often a little bit of trimming to be done, which is all good. Right, okay, this is your drawer lining, so this should be pretty much dry enough for that now. I'll pop that in and make sure it fits tightly and snugly, which it does. Now the trick is to get it out again. Oh dear. Or not, as the case may be. So I'm going to put some glue all over this. Do you know, these videos, since lockdown, this is the most talking I do. I should make one of these a day. How funny. Now I'm going to carefully pop that back in, and of course it won't fit now. push it right tight up to the sides. Although if you do have any gaps, that's fine, because we're going to apply a little trim in there around those edges. Push all that down with your bone folder, and we are going to make sure that that's nice and tight. I'm going to apply some lace around the outside. Let's see if this is the piece I cut or whether this is the piece for the hat. I think this is the piece I cut. Is that bigger than that? Slightly, so let me just check. This covers up any raw edges that you might have, any little discrepancies that you might find. No, it's the other piece, right, okie dokie. I measured and trimmed it first so that it would, I knew it would fit on. Just going to cut some of these little tags off. Where this lace is machine made, it, you know, you get a lot of these little tag pieces on it. It's just nice to just trim them off and tidy it up. There we go. Little piece off of here. Right, so starting at the back. Like I say, this covers up all of your raw edges and things. So I'm going to just pop that on there. Hold it with a clip. Kind of stretch it a bit as you go so it makes a nice neat finish. I'm sure you all know how to do this, but obviously I couldn't apply it until I'd done the insides of the box, so that's why I'm having to do it now. And this, you can decorate the outside of your box obviously exactly how you want to. Just be aware that the drawer needs to fit inside the box when you finish. And if you over embellish it, you know, you might find the drawer gets stuck. So I guess my suggestion would be to embellish the outside of the box and the lid more than the drawer. Around to there, stick that all down and trim off that last little piece. I don't tend to overlap my lace, I just think it gives a ridge that you don't need, and it's quite okay to just butt it up. There we go. Right, apply the crown of the hat. Whoops. Choose, I would have the joining seam of the hat where you want to put all of your embellishments so they cover it. So I would make that, for me, I'm going to do it on the side of the hat, so I would make that the side and apply your top of your hat. Give it a good old push down all the way round. Get your piece of lace, which is, for me, it's this one. And I'm going to, right, okay, that's that one. I'm going to put mine upside down so that I can hide the rim, or draw attention away from the rim. So let's go do it as we go. So basically I'm not going to have the seam of the lace in the front. I'm going to have the seam of the lace at the back, but I've got the seam of the hat in the front. If that makes sense, because then you won't see it when you cover it with your embellishments. Stick this down. A little tiny trim on that. Oh no, I don't. I can just take that. That's okay. Re-stick this. There we go. You can decorate your hat as fancy as you like. I mean, really go to town on it. For mine, I'm going to add some, if I can find it, I'm going to add some silver bling, which I happen to have. It's a chain, beautiful chain piece. I'm going to end up putting that around there. I'm going to either use these feathers. Now I made these by putting two feathers together and jamming them in a bead, and then cutting the end off, doing it with hot glue and then cutting the end off. And then I may well use, let's find the front of it, I may well use this like this, like on the others I've used feathers here with these embellishments, lace and all sorts of bits and pieces. Even this one has got beautiful matching black and white feathers, if you can see that. Black roses and white silk roses and bows. Go to town, make it an ascot hat. Right, so I might use that, or I was thinking that I might trim this down and use this. What do you think? That is quite spectacular, isn't it? So I'm not sure yet. I also have some of these little bits that I'm going to stick on to give it a little bit of dangle. You like it, you need a little bit of dangle. And I have plenty of flowers, bits and pieces of flowers here. I have some lace. I have some thick and thin ribbon in the same colours that I'm going to use for making bows and bits and pieces like that. Right. Just make sure that that's stuck down. So once you've made your hat, and I kind of won't bother to do any more to show you because that's entirely up to you. All you do then, I edge my hat, let's bring this one over. I edge my hat underneath with lace. So I'm going to use this same lace to go round, sticking it underneath and just gathering it gently as I go, just putting a few gathers in it. And then I'm going to stick the whole thing on the top here, carefully making sure that you have it lined up on there. So that's going to go on there like that. And don't forget, then there'll be lace all the way around the outsides, plus all my flowers and all my other lace and embellishments and all bits and pieces, but I won't do that at the moment. I'll just show that in the pictures of the after thing. Now I've also cut, which I'm not going to do with this one. I might do it off camera, but you don't need to sort of see all this. But what I have cut as well is some beaded trim, which I was going to put over my seam on the inside. Like that, to kind of cover up that seam. Hope you can see that. So I'm just going to stick that down. It's just another little finishing touch that I like to do. Right, now comes the moment of truth, and no laughing if it doesn't work, but this is how we put it together. Very, very simple. You just slide the drawer inside and hope like mad that it fits. The other thing I thought of doing actually, which you might like to try, is to put a little piece of string, you know, twine or something, or a bit of ribbon here, and stick it to the back of the thing in there, so that you can't pull the drawer right out by accident. I might try that with this one. I didn't do it with the other two, but it just did occur to me that that might make a nice sort of addition to it. Right, let's get this drawer lined up how I want it to be. Push it in, and there we go. That is basically our easel hat box, where the hat will come up. And like I say, I'm going to put a butterfly here, which I'll show in the pictures. So I'm going to put a butterfly here as the stopper for that to come up, and the little drawer that opens like that, which will be all finished off, so that you can put your watch in it, or other trinkets, whatever you want to put in it. With this one here, I also lined it with some tissue paper. This one does have the beaded trim inside. I don't know if you can see that. Hold on, let's take this out. This one does have the beaded trim inside. It just sort of finishes it off. Pop that back in there. I'll sort that out afterwards. Maybe you'd like to give a watch as a gift to somebody, to a lovely family member or something. But anyway, that's our project for March. I hope you enjoy it, and I sincerely hope that you have enough time to make it, if you want to, for Mother's Day. There we go. Push all this stuff out of the way. A little trio of boxes to sit on your dressing table or give away as a gift. Push that in. Hold on. There we go. Put that on there. Remains to, it's open as to whether I'm going to use this one to go on here, or be daring and use this one. What do you think? Leave a comment below if you've got an idea about what you'd like to see. Okay, thank you. Take care, and I hope you managed to do this. Oh, by the way, just before I go, please, please, please leave me a like and a subscribe, so that I can get YouTube to recognise me and bump my videos up a little bit so that more people get to see them. Thank you so much. Bye for now.